So first, I had thoughts of, I want to be a lawyer. Like growing up, it was like, not that I like to argue, but I like to understand people's perspectives, and I like to dig into those and kind of wiggle my way through and counter with those type of arguments. But then when I saw like, oh, you got 4 years of school, then 4 other more years, and I'm good. Like,
What's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Black Student Success Podcast. We bring you insight and guidance from successful Black professionals to students. My name is Selvin, and as always, we appreciate the support. So today we have Robert Pressoir. He is an automation and integration platform lead within the IT field. So he's going to talk about what his career path looked like, what motivated him to get into this space, and any pieces of advice that he has from his experience that he can share with us. So, Rob, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for being on. So we're going to start the show how we always do by asking, who is Robert Pressoir?
Who am I? I'm a kid from Evanston, kind of was born and raised in Evanston. Just big sports, big into sports from an early age, played sports, big into family, got a large network of family folks. So I'm very connected to my family members. I would say I am, right now I'm a father, I'm a husband. I take that seriously. Family has always been big to me. So I would say that I enjoy to travel. I enjoy to, just hang out and build with, family and friends and so forth. But, I'm driven to, connecting with others and kind of lending that hand up. So wherever I, can find my spot to help people in any way, that's really kind of my mission in life. That's what I found that, that was kind of, the path that was destined for me. So I'm all about how do we enrich and help others, who, may not have the necessary resources that others have. So I'm the lookout.
There you go. There you go. Appreciate the intro. So segue into kind of what motivated you to get into kind of the IT space. And when we, generally think of people in IT, we don't have this vast, people foundation that you have. So what was it like for you kind of getting into the space and, kind of walk us through what that looked like?
Yeah, I had no idea about IT growing up. All I knew was, so prior to getting to college, I went without, an idea of what I was going to do. I just felt like I didn't want to stay home, and I felt like college was the next step. So I was a little blinded going in, like, okay, this seems to be the right path to go, and got accepted to some schools. And I said, all right, well, I'm going. My sister went to school, or she was a year in or 2 years in at the time. And so when I got there, what I did know, and it was something that I had to connect as to, what is it that I want to do here? So first, I had thoughts of, I want to be a lawyer. Like growing up, it was like, not that I like to argue, but I like to understand people's perspectives, and I like to dig into those and kind of wiggle my way through and counter with those type of arguments. But then when I saw like, oh, you got 4 years of school, then 4 other more years, and I'm good. Like I'm barely making it my first year of college. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably not what I want to do. So what's next? And so I tapped into kind of my sports, background of, what was driving me. Like I found myself always interested in numbers, always interested in statistics. So, I'd open the front page or the back page of sports paper, and I'd look at the box scores, whether it's basketball or football, and, see all these numbers calculated in a way that, I was intrigued, like, okay, someone's putting this all together. No one's just handwriting it or doing it in Excel spreadsheets or what have you. Like, how does this all work? So it got me into, taking a class in statistics, and then, kind of moving from there. meeting some folks that are, were telling me that they were computer science majors. And I was like, okay, so what is that? It's really just crunching information and letting a computer do what you tell it to do. So I was intrigued from that point, and it was definitely a bumpy road for me, but that's kind of how it all got started. My love for sports transcended into looking at numbers and wanting to crunch them, and then that got me right into the IT field.
Yeah. No, the starting with numbers, I think, can take you into a number of different paths. You could, go into computer science like you did. It could just be straight math that you go into. And even if you were to just kind of focus in on statistics, that can take you into a whole nother road. But it's good to hear that it started out with something simple and you were able to automatically connect that to something that you're passionate about, which was sports, which is hopefully a way for you to, or a way for a lot of students to kind of take something simple and something that they like and then put it together and then start to look at the possibilities, as opposed to maybe seeing someone in a particular profession and, oh, that looks cool. Let's go with that, So I'm glad that you kind of stumbled into it, which, in some cases, some people do, but, kind of now hearing it, you can probably, build some purpose from that. So that's really good that that it started off that way for you.
What you said was very important, is be passionate about what you want, like understand who you are and drive from the passions that are within you. I think that will help, because you don't want to lose interest because it's not you, So when you're tapped into something, and I think many people can relate, like when they're very interested into something, they can go on forever. And sometimes it doesn't feel like work. And that's what you want to do, is you want to do things that, are driven from within you, and it doesn't feel like work.
Absolutely. So even from that, I'm sure you can grab a lot of advice from just, taking a passion or sticking with that just so that it never gets old. But what other advice would you, give to yourself maybe in that situation, as you were kind of trying to figure out what you wanted to do, and maybe even beyond that, as you started getting into your career, what advice would you give to yourself?
If I look back and had an opportunity to talk to my old self, first piece of advice I would give myself would be, believe in you, take more risks. I think as we grow, and especially depending on kind of the background you're from and, the various struggles and adversity you've had to face, at times you feel like, you're not worthy. And I think for me, growing up, I had a lot of that in me, where I just wasn't sure about who I was. I didn't have all the confidence. I didn't have a big brother. I didn't have a lot of people that I can lean on. So I navigated things on my own. And I think with that, I was very conservative, and I didn't take as many risks that I probably, I would have advanced further. I have no regrets about it, but certainly if I look back at it, I would say, believe in yourself, take more risks. I would say, don't compare yourself to others. And that's another thing that we get hung up on, is thinking that we have to advance at the same pace as other people. You don't. And don't look just because a person's ahead. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah. It's your own journey too. There's so many different pieces that can affect whatever that pace is, but as long as you're kind of sticking with it and just, owning, what your progress is, kind of running with blinders, if you will, so you're not paying attention to anybody else, whether they're in front or behind you, that kind of helps you. And I can attest to the whole not taking risks and playing it safe thing. I think once, I started to get into a space personally where, kind of taking bets on yourself, and you either you win or you learn. That's kind of the way that I look at it. So yes, I can definitely agree with both of those points. I'm sure some of our listeners will be able to as well.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So now Now, I'm sure there's a unique experience of being Black within the tech space. What advice would you give to a student, particularly a Black student who is either kind of looking to get into this world, maybe specifically where you're at, or are there things that they can keep in mind as they are trying to kind of find themselves and find the space that they're passionate in?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think one of the things that I learned as I was continuing to navigate down my journey in education was, the further I stayed in school, the less people I saw that looked like me. And it was a struggle because I always felt like I was one of two or three, or, you know what I mean? And it was, well, am I not supposed to be here? Mm-hmm. And, why are we not represented here? Like, what's happening? And I certainly didn't feel prepared coming to college. Like, even though I went to a good high school, I felt I was just kind of cruising through that. So there was a lot I had to learn. But the advice I would give, those coming behind me, that I had to get through, was kind of get past the imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. Get over that as quickly as you can, because you are worthy. If you're there for a reason, and there's a legacy that's going to be created because of you being there. You're not there by accident. You have a lot of strengths and qualities that got you to that point. And so it's no mistake that you're there. And take that to heart and know that it's something that you can survive. You're just going to maybe have to dig in a little harder at times. And then there's times where you're going to feel alone, and you're not going to have the outlets that you might think you need to survive it. But just know in the end, like, this is your life and it's your responsibility for you. So figure out what you need to get through it, but just get through it and know that you're worthy no matter what. Whatever choices you make, just know that you're there for a reason, and there's someone waiting for you to push through it so you can help them.
There you go. Absolutely. And imposter syndrome seems to be something that has popped up a lot recently. What would you say is something that you probably did, maybe an example of how you maybe even started to try to get out of that, so that you can kind of feel empowered in what you were doing?
Yeah, one of the things that I feel like for me, my skill set is, I tend to listen more than I speak. I think when you do that, it helps you to understand, not only it helps you to evaluate like where true skills are. It's how do you add more to your tool belt? And when you listen, it's not about just listening to the words, style matters too. It's how is the delivery? How is the approach, the presentation? What's the interaction look like? All these things are skills that you have to pick up. And it's one of those things that sometimes you just pause. You look around you, you take it all in, and you see what success around you is looking like, and you adapt to that. So that's what you'll have to become, is somewhat of a chameleon. Just adapt to the things. Fake it until you make it is something that's said a lot, but it is one of those things that, like, look around you, understand, listen to those key clues, and just add them, put them together, and before you know it, you'll be polished.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Robert, how would you define success? What is it that drives you, and, what you strive for to be successful? What are the components of that definition?
For me, I would say success. I would define success as how many people did you help? It's not about me. It's all about what are you pouring? How much are you pouring into others and helping them grow? What are you creating as a legacy? So as I look back, I want to be the person that I didn't have when I grew up. And I want to be that for others. So what is it that I can do to help? So I look for that. And so when I find successes in my own situation where things work, I'm all about how do I transfer that knowledge to somebody else who can learn from me, who can grow in a quicker time so that then they're equipped to go help others much faster than I could or did. And so we find that, life is short and there's so much that we want to do and so much that we want to accomplish, but pull somebody up with you and you'll be surprised on the effects that it not only has on your life, but on how others get impacted by it. And, it just becomes be the foundation, the tree, and let them watch all these branches grow. And that's what success is how big can your tree be?
There you go. Yeah, I've heard that before. Just, how many people can you impact? What are you spreading out? What are you giving back that's been kind of poured into you in some sense? So, and in some ways you can even just kind of, double that or tenfold that. So definitely a great definition there. Now, before we wrap up, just to get a better, idea of you as a person, we ask our guests sometimes what type of passage do you think students should go through? It could be something serious, it could be something funny, but anything that, a student should go through that, that's kind of part of that definition of being a student.
I mean, so assuming that going to college is not, like you're already there, but I would definitely say, like, if you're one who is a high school student on your way to college or thinking about college, or college is a plan, but you're not sure where to go, whatever you do, go somewhere, and go away from home. I think that rite of passage of like leaving the nest, being on your own, learning and, learning from your mistakes, navigating, it's like you're having fun, but at the same time trying to be responsible, and then growing from all those like lessons learned. It's huge. I think it's part of like growing up in a sense. But if I had to pivot from that, I would then say like outside of that is travel. Like you have to travel. It is as soon as you can get out, like not in the States, but out of the States, you need to expand your knowledge of what's around this world. Because it's important, perspective matters. And a lot of times we get so contained in our box and we don't realize the different languages that are out there, the different cultures and the foods and the way people move and live. A lot of times we get hung up in our immediate surroundings and not realizing that there are folks who have like a tenth of what we have to operate with, and they are killing it and crushing it. And here's how they're doing that. And here's how smiles stay on their face and how they stay engaged. And these are the things we need to see. And a lot of times you can't tap into that with, being at home or seeing the same things you're around. It's important to just go out there and live and see what life looks like in someone else's shoes and understand the struggles and adversity they go through. And you might pick up a tool along the way. But it certainly expands your understanding of the way our world works.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And when you do get out and you start to find those different experiences, it's kind of cool to have that full circle. You and I both, we grew up in Evanston and then came back after kind of, seeing the world a little bit. And then that allows you to make, the community that helped grow you a little bit better because you have all the experiences that you're bringing back and hopefully, like you said in the beginning, paying it forward. And as this world is evolving and you're taking these things in and you're helping that community evolve with it. So definitely great advice. Just leaving the nest. Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, Robert, so thank you so much for coming onto the show, sharing your experience. Before we wrap up, any last words for our audience?
No last words. Just good luck to your journey, to you and your journeys. And, if ever there's something that I could help with, never hesitate to reach out to me. I'm certainly happy to provide any advice or experiences, from my journey to help.
Sounds good. And yeah, we'll put all that information in the description. So thanks again, Robert. And thanks to everybody who's been watching and listening. Feel free to contact us. You can follow us on social media. That's at Inquire Higher on Facebook and Instagram. And you can check out our website, inquirehigher.com. We've got a lot of great information there. You can also contact us by email. That's contact@inquirehigher.com. So until next time, peace.